what do I say? Hi, I'm George Coady. It's a nice gown, this is. Hi, I'm George Coady. Definitely need to do that again. Hi, I'm George Coady, barber and owner of Barbershop. Today I'm going to be doing a short textured mullet.
Do it.
I usually start with the top first, the structure in. So I've got something almost complete to clip her in. I find that saves me a lot of time, and I just find it easier to visualise what I'm doing. We're just going to texture it, cut it a bit shorter, get some more shape in. I feel like it's a bit too bulky here, so I feel like above the occipital bone we'll take a bit of length off, and then anything below the occipital bone we'll just keep. And then on the sides we'll get a nice little skin fade in to about here, just behind the ear, and that will really pop it and exaggerate it a bit more. And then yeah, it will just be short and textured. The golden rule for me is when it comes to the crown, whatever wants to go forward, put it forward. Whatever wants to go backwards, section it backwards. And then I can always come back to it if need be. Right, little profile section. And then we'll be using this here as the guide for the rest of, well, the top. And then we'll, obviously the back will differ in different lengths because it's a mullet.
Enjoy cutting mullets?
I love cutting mullets, yeah. I've done a few. They're becoming a more common request now.
When my sister was training to be a hairdresser, like the first trim she ever gave me was a mullet by accident.
By accident?
Yeah, I got ripped at school for
and
it.
And you fell in love with it ever since. The thing is, you get different, like any haircut, you get different extremes, don't you? Like there's many different ways of cutting a mullet. I suppose the older generation, they think of a mullet, they're thinking status quo, really long,
yeah.
Bon Jovi. This is more of a, I suppose, a contemporary spin on a mullet. So yeah, I'm just club cutting at the moment just to get like a real strong structure, and then I will personalise it and just point cut into it after I've put the main shape in, the length that I want. I think we'll come in slightly rounded, create a bit more of a rounder shape on the contours, and the back will be more square. And just following the guide from the profile section. So I've basically got two guides now. I've got the guide from the profile section, and I've got a guide from the section behind that as well. It's like one of those ASMR videos. Gives you the feels, that, doesn't it? And it's the scissor work that's the relaxing bit. I'll always cross-check, very important. Sometimes there's nothing to come off, and sometimes there is. We're only human, we can't get it perfect every time. There's so many different ways of cutting hair though, so there is no right and wrong way within certain boundaries obviously, but a lot of it is just figure out what works best for you. So we're just section the contours off. And now we're just getting the sides prepped. A little bit of connection from the top to the sides, and then I'm just going to cut the back as a completely separate panel. I'm just going to check the very front. Kind of going for almost like a bit of a crop, really. Generally, when I'm cropping the front, creating a kind of blunt fringe, I kind of like to take the fringe in line with where the contour is on the side, just so you get a bit of strength, so you get the bluntness from the fringe coming into the weight that's going to be created by the clipper work. I just think it finishes it off nice. In the next section. But I like to kind of play it safe with fringes because obviously when hair's wet, it stretches. Especially curly hair, you end up cutting a lot more off wet and then it dries and it shrinks and you've taken the hair too short, so that's always something to be wary of. So I'm just cutting the hair in the direction that it's wanting to go. So it wants to go that way, so I'm going to cut it that way. So I always tend to section off. Generally where the head starts to round from the side to the back is behind the ear. And this is where you get, you know, where the head starts to curve. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling the hair down to, you know, over direct it to create a bit more weight on the corners. And I'm going to angle my fingers out so that anything below here we're retaining. If I went in and started angling my fingers inwards, I'm going to take what we're trying to grow here. Over direct it, pull it towards me. And then I'm ignoring everything below that occipital bone here. This will probably be my last section on this side, and then I'm going to work the other way so they cross over. So because the hair's got further to travel now, I'm starting to run out of hair to cut, so that's another indicator that I'm finishing one panel, one side of the back here. Again, where's the guide? Won't cut anything there. Now I'm crossing over into the other side now and just joining the two together really. I'm still being conscious of over directing the hair towards me and then being very wary of where I'm angling my fingers here. And then I will not be touching anything below there. And just kind of copy and pasting what I did on side one. And what I'll do lastly is I'll just check around the crown area, and if there was, you don't always have to connect everything, depending on the style. You could probably get away with, because we're going from short to long, you could probably get away with leaving a lot more disconnection around here than normal. But yeah, I always like to just check last that there's not too much of a disconnection, but there isn't. So, but if there was, it wouldn't be too much of a concern anyway. Kind of finger drying this because it's going to be more of a textured, gritty look, and it's not overly long, so I can get away with it. And I'm just going to quickly texture it, and then we'll go in with our clippers. I can see straight away that now the area above the occipital bone is a bit flatter, and there's more bulk as we get below the occipital bone here, which is perfect. That's exactly what I want. It definitely looks more, from the side profile, it's looking more exaggerated here. So I'm just cutting into like the first inch of the hair, just to shatter it a little bit. And I'm just point cutting directly into it. I think it completely escalates the haircut into a completely another level when you've taken the time to texture it. So everything above the occipital bone, you see that big block of weight there? I'm just going to separate it like that. And then it will just lay a bit better. So we're going to clipper, but obviously we're not touching the back, we're missing all this out, so we've got minimal clipper work to do really. So I'll be taking the clippers, it's probably about just behind the arch of the ear here, and then you see where that length is there, I'll retain that. So I've got number 2, closed. I'm just going to flick up into where I went with my scissors. Then I'll open it, and then I'm just flicking about there. I'd say I don't want to go too far down the back. And then what I'm going to do is come in with my 0 line. I'll come in at an angle. Don't want to take it too high, obviously. Probably from the point of the temple. Like that.
The Barbershop skeleton trims that you use?
Yes, they are. Really good. So this is the 1.5 guard closed. Now I'm just going to kind of fade down. Like generally when I've got quite a small area to fade, I don't really want to be going up, creating loads of guidelines, because sometimes you can end up going a bit too high. So I usually go for more visual approach really. Got 1.5 on there now. I'm just gently flicking out. Coming in under there. Kind of using the corners slightly, angling the clipper. 0.5 guard on. Again, just picking out areas that I can see, little dark areas. And an open clipper, again, picking, tapping really, tapping away at it. Same again, same point at an angle. Closed 1.5 guard. Again, I'm at an angle. And just little flicks really, and then open. Just catch anything there. 1.5. Using half the clipper really, half the guard. And just at an angle, little flicks, little taps, and just rather than going in fully with the clipper, I feel like I've definitely got more control. Closed now, number 1. Half guard open, close it, again, just tapping beneath it, just so that line gradually dissolves basically. Notch with a bit of clipper over comb, very subtly. Any excess weight here.
Use an open blade?
Yeah, just very subtly. Just going to do some scissor over comb now. Just very light refining really.
What's this scissor you're using now?
These are Passion, they're called. I'm lefty, therefore I'm very restricted with my scissor options, but I've had these for a while and they seem to do the job. I've got K-shows, which I love, and I've had a few left-handed scissors, you can imagine. Refine any shadows out using the texturizing scissors. I'm literally just dusting the ends, I'm not going in harsh or anything. And it kind of ties it all together sometimes, especially in those awkward spots. And already it's softened it out. Again, yeah, just sometimes with different coloured hairs and sparse areas, you can refine even more using your scissors when it comes to the fade. So we're going to style it with Uppercut Deluxe clay. Perfect for this. Really lifts out the texture, and a little bit goes a long way. Let's take a small amount to begin with. Maybe like a fingertips worth. I'm just going to rub it in the hands, warm it up so it disappears in the hands, but it's there. And I'll start from the back and really get the fingers in there, into the hair, and then we'll work to the front. And just from that fingertips worth, I can feel it gripping the hair already. It's best to start with a smaller amount than caking your hair in it. It suits textured styles really, mid-length to shorter length textured styles. This is perfect. It really lifts it out as well, lifts the texture and kind of gives it like a grittiness to it, if that's the right word. That's my way of describing it, because it's such a matte finish. It's like effortless really, it looks like you've almost got nothing in your hair. You obviously get a nice bit of hold to it as well.